Hello everyone, my name is Alex Brown, and in this video I'm going to take a look at how businesses and individuals can maintain a safe online presence in a world of increasing security threats. So let's get right to it. First, I want to start with what I think is the best definition of information security, although there are many variations. Information security is the protection of information systems from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction in order to provide confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability, known as CIA for short, are the three most common core security goals that security professionals hope to achieve. In this context, confidentiality means that people cannot read sensitive information while it's on a computer or traveling across a network. Integrity means that attackers cannot change or destroy information. Availability means that people who are authorized to use information are not prevented from doing so. Now let's take a brief look at some of the basics of information security. Information security is quite possibly the single most important aspect of information technology. The reason I say this is because without proper security, nothing else can be accomplished. Think of it like this. You could have the nicest house in the world filled with the nicest of luxuries, but none of that matters if you don't lock the front door. InfoSec can significantly reduce the risk of an online presence for both individuals and businesses. InfoSec is not a one-time job with a start and an end. It is a continuing cycle of evaluation and maintenance, among other things. It is important to remember that you cannot fully eliminate all threats that exist. Information security is about allocating the resources at your disposal to reduce the most significant threats, but no one can be 100% safe from attack. The ultimate goal of information security is to minimize vulnerabilities. Attacks can be thwarted using three different types of countermeasures: preventative, detective, and corrective. Preventative countermeasures prevent attacks from succeeding. Detective countermeasures identify when a threat is attacking and when it is succeeding. Early detection can help minimize damage. Finally, corrective countermeasures get the business back on track after a compromise. Before diving into some security tips, I wanted to make note of some key statistics related to security according to the Symantec 2014 Internet Security Threat Report. The one that stands out the most to me is the fact that there were 552 million identities exposed via breaches in 2013. That number is staggering. You can always see that attacks and breaches are continuing to increase from year to year. This further amplifies the importance of information security. Let's get into just how individuals can protect themselves from the many threats that exist. I wanted to start with passwords because everyone has them, and chances are most people don't have a very good one. A good password should be at least 10 to 12 characters long, contain a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, should not contain any complete words or phrases that can be found in the dictionary, and should not contain your name or any variation of your name. These things will make brute force password cracking attempts exponentially more difficult. If possible, you should change your passwords every few months or so, especially if the website has had a security breach. You should avoid using the same password for multiple accounts. If possible, you should enable two-step verification. This likely means that after entering a password, you will need to enter a code sent to your phone via text message to complete the login. If you can never seem to remember your passwords, take advantage of online password managers. To help thwart social engineering, you should always cruise the internet with a bit of a skeptical eye. Threats can exist almost everywhere, and they often rely heavily on human misjudgment. You should always make sure to double-check the URLs of the sites you visit. One-off URLs are often used to recreate fake websites that look just like the real thing. You should not open attachments unless you are absolutely certain they are safe, and you should only download files from trustworthy sources. If you get an email asking you to fill out a form without taking you to the actual website, chances are this is a social engineering attempt, and you should not enter any information. Lastly, always be wary of the links you click. It is very easy to get click-happy when on the web and end up in some dangerous places. I thought it was important to put a slide about social media in this presentation because of its prominence in today's society. You should avoid posting specific personal information on social networks at all costs. Anything you post should be something you'd be okay with anyone on the internet seeing. You should not accept friend requests from people you don't know. This gives them access to your circle, and you never know what their intentions might be. Do not attach location to your posts. You may think this is a cool feature, but it's probably best if you don't broadcast to the world where you are at any given time for obvious reasons. Finally, beware of fake profiles on social media. Not everyone actually is who they say they are online. Now here are a few things to keep in mind when setting up a home network. The first thing you should do is change your router's default settings and change the name of your network. Using default settings often means that anyone can easily peek into your home network. You should always keep your software up to date to make sure that you have the new security patches that are released. All of your important documents and data should be backed up to the cloud. You never know when something is going to happen to your computer. If you're sharing a computer with a household of people but want to make sure your personal documents are safe, you can set up folder-specific permissions. You should always install a firewall and antivirus software on both your computer and your router. Also, you should try using 128-bit encryption or higher on your access point to make your wireless network more secure. Here are a few additional things for you to keep in mind. Web browsers are commonly asking to remember passwords to make your login easier and to remember information to autofill forms. Do not allow this to happen. You should always make sure you are using HTTPS in your browser because it has built-in encryption of your web traffic. Never connect to random unsecured Wi-Fi hotspots. In fact, you should use a VPN or virtual private network whenever possible. These may seem obvious, but you should always lock your screen or device and log out of accounts when you are done using them. And of course, use common sense just like you would in any other aspect of life. Now let's talk about some things businesses can do to ensure they are as secure as possible. When it comes to business, IT security should protect companies while not obscuring their primary objective, which is generating profit. Since attackers only need to find one way to get into a corporation, it is important to exercise comprehensive security to close all routes of attack to your systems. This, along with defense in depth, or making sure an attacker must break through multiple countermeasures to succeed, helps prevent weakest link failures. Companies should use the plan, protect, respond cycle to streamline their protection against threats. Corporations must always make sure they are in compliance with laws and regulations such as HIPAA and PCI DSS. IT security should be placed within the Information Technology Department because that means security is under the CIO, who is likely to back the security department's efforts to create a safe IT infrastructure. Companies should consider outsourcing things like email whenever possible so that they can focus on more critical tasks. Finally, all companies should do some sort of risk analysis to compare costs and benefits and think in terms of reasonable risk. Let's move on to how corporations can protect their data. All companies should do full backups weekly and incremental backups a bit more frequently, perhaps every couple of days. All backup data should be encrypted when moved from its creation location to its storage location. Furthermore, policy should limit who has access to the data when it is being stored. Data loss prevention planning can help prevent sensitive data from being released to unauthorized persons. Finally, data masking should be used for personally identifiable information so that it cannot identify a specific person but still remains practically useful. Here are a few more things to keep in mind for businesses. Always educate your employees. Employees with high security awareness are less likely to take risks with critical company data and information. Employees should only be given the permissions they absolutely need to do their job. Any extra permissions are unnecessary and will increase risk substantially. Perhaps most importantly, companies must understand the threat environment. If they don't know how potential attacks might exploit them, they can't possibly defend themselves adequately. This is a graph of some recent breaches, most notably the Target breach, which took place this year in 2014 and affected 70 million people. The Adobe breach in 2013 affected up to 152 million people, So this gives you the idea of the magnitude of large-scale breaches. There are many potential consequences for failing to take information security seriously. Identity theft is at the top of the list for individuals, but businesses could be extorted for money or their trade secrets could be compromised. Any large company that has a preventable security breach is likely to take a huge PR hit, which could translate directly to a loss of money. Lastly, there can be significant fines for failing to meet compliance laws. This is just one more look at the financial consequences of a security breach. It is important to remember that good security should be thought of as an enabler. If you are following these best practices, it can allow you as an individual and as a business to do things you couldn't otherwise do.